African-American Black male educators. So I want to get it going and share with y'all what we want to do, what we want to do, what we want to bring to life of how we can really help impact African-American male educators, which we know impacts our babies. I'm going to refer to our children as babies, but we know our babies. Mr. Richard Rose, how you doing, doctor?
I'm doing well, thank you. Sorry for being late. I had a little trouble signing in, but I'm in.
No problem. You know, the party starts when you arrive. So thank you.
And shoot.
Thank you for showing up and making it happen. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I want to thank you all so much for being here, honestly and genuinely, because I know when you are here for African-American Black male educators, you are here for our babies, you're here for our children. And that is something that I honor. And anyone who takes time to be able to, spend time with doing some things that can actually benefit our children and help them to grow and learn and expand and just be present. So I'm very excited to get started with this. 1 second as I get my technical ingenuity and difficulties in together as we make it happen on this Thursday evening. All right. Are y'all able to see my screen? Cool, cool. Do y'all see the Yelling the Yoga title slide?
Yeah, good here. Good here.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Cool. Did you say good here or good hair? If I'll take compliments.
Good here. But you can have some good hair too.
I'm trying to catch up to you, baby. I'm trying to check up to you, man. And I love the name. We're gonna talk about your name, and that's importance to me as well as we get into it. But I really want to jump in because we are going to go on a journey tonight. We are going to go on a journey of a personal one and one that really has just impacted our community and continue to impact our community. So I wanted to do this webinar. I do a monthly webinar, and I wanted to do this one specifically. The more I started learning about education and I started learning more about educators, I was just shocked to see how few African-American male educators it was. And then after my shock of hearing the numbers and the stats, I realized it ain't that big of a shock because I can't really remember too many Black male educators in my own life. I do remember the coaches, the counselors. I do remember interacting with kids as a Black male educator myself and the impact that it had on those kids. So I wanted to shed some more light on the impact and the power of Black male educators. And I also wanted to provide Black male educators, those that love them, the mothers, the wives, the sisters, the brothers, the cousins, the partners, all those people who support Black male educators, and then the institutions that hopefully can learn how they can better support Black male educators within this space. So I want y'all to really take time to just relax, chill, and jump into this journey with me. And let me just introduce to you who I am as we get into this. As I will be checking in with the chat. So thank you, Angela. Yes, thank you, Angela. All the proud mothers and brothers and sisters and all those who, produce these Black male educators. So these men right here at that institution right there, that's what I was saying, Mr. Xavier Jefferson. So before I got to Xavier, we called it X-Xavier. From California, we always say it's Xavier, but you get down there in New Orleans.
And they schooled you.
Right? I went to Xavier, and they always knew I was from California. And I say, hey, yeah, I'm here for X-Xavier. It's Xavier, baby. If you ever been down to New Orleans, you get the accent and everything. And hopefully, I can't wait to get down and get some of that food. But the man on the left is Dr. Jameson. Dr. Jameson, when I was playing the song, as we were entering, I was playing Cell Therapy by Goody Mob. I remember being in the classroom and all of a sudden this Black man come in. He got a suit jacket on with a dashiki under it. Okay, that's different. I didn't see that growing up in Corona. Come in the classroom and he just goes straight over to the boom boxes. I'm old school. They had the boom box in the class still. And he cuts on this song, Cell Therapy. And he starts just like looking out the window. Like he just see everything out the window. And you see him just mouthing the words and going through it and just moving to the music and feeling the music. Then he stopped the music and he break it down. Now see this right here, when they talk about this part, when they talk about that part. So instantly I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in the neighborhoods of Atlanta, Georgia that they're talking about in the music. I'm in the experience of a black man that's outside of college, that's in these neighborhoods. I'm in the experience of this music. He brought me into it to teach me Africana studies, to teach me African psychology. I never had a class that allowed my music, hip hop, rap, to be brought into the classroom. And that was, I never had a man in the class teaching me that looked like me. Like I said, I played football, so that I had coaches that looked like me, but they praised me based off my athletic performance. But to have a black man praise and encourage my intellectual, my educational experience, oh, that blew me away. And along with Dr. Ronald Doris, who brought his whole self into class, he had energy. He would never sit down. He's walking around and jumping, and he was doing the things that I would get in trouble for as a black male. Oh, you gotta sit down, you gotta be quiet, you too loud, you do this. He brought all that energy into class, all that energy into campus, and it just transformed my mind on black men as educational and intellectual beings. Because prior, all my teachers was white. All my teachers were white. I had maybe a couple of other, maybe Asian, East Asian, maybe Latino, but no black male teachers. I had some black female teachers, but you know, I come up with strong grandmothers, strong mothers, strong aunts. So it was, of course, I see women leading in these spaces, but to see a man leading in spaces was transformational. And to say that my major is psychology, that I can definitely say that strong contribution came from Dr. Jameson. And it was another, I couldn't find his picture and his information, but it was another professor. Man, you would think he had ADHD because he would be all over the place and so energetic, but he would bring it together and make it happen. And my minor is in public administration because of that man as well. So I wanted to drop in a little bit of what black male educators have meant to me and how it helped to shape me and bring about just a piece of who I am. Because like I said, this is a part of my journey. And in my K through 12 experience, I didn't see anybody that looked like me. It took me almost 20 years to get a black male teacher and have that impact on my life. So we want to really highlight where we are making the contact as black male educators, where we are making that contact with our students, male, female, all colors. We're going to talk about that. Rock with me. So I talked about it being a shock, but then we get the numbers here as raw as real. 79% of national education force are white, and most of those, over 60%, are white women. So we have white women leading us as students. We have white women leading in the classrooms, creating and shaping our children. Now we know about 60% of the student body, especially here in California and really much throughout the nation now, is Hispanic, Latino, Latinx. 2% of the national teaching force are black men, 2%. And it really drops down to under 2%. But we also know the numbers of the rates of students who are being suspended, who are having behavioral issues, who are being diagnosed at the highest rates, who are having who are being expelled and suspended at the highest rates. Those are black men. So there's no one in the classes, or there's barely anyone in the classes that look like them to represent them and stand for them. Now, this is really odd. The numbers start to really get crazy because black males are the highest credentialed and educated within the education realm. So black males within education have the most master's degrees. Black males within education take the most tests, the GREs and the certification. Black men take the most of those. But we still have predominantly white males who are in leadership within education. So we're talking about superintendents, we're talking about principals. So they are not the highest educated. They don't spend the highest amount of time within the classroom, but white males are still promoted to the highest levels of education. And then white females just usually dominate the education space. So what's going on? Where's going on? What's happening? And a big piece of it, when we go back into the historical context, we look at the desegregation of schools, especially in the South. But the desegregation of schools, a lot of those black principals, black teachers, black superintendents were either demoted or fired from their position. So you have these black male educators who are the statues, the stalwarts in their community, who go off to Howards and go off to Xavier's and get their education credentials, come back to their communities and empower their youth through education, they're all of a sudden removed and replaced with implants from other communities, white folks, which really created a huge schism within our education system and Black men feeling like they can have a space within that education system. And I'm very grateful that you joined us, Xavier. We're going to talk about your quote a little bit more. And I want to talk about the impact that Black men have. So one Black male teacher can decrease dropouts by 30%. All right, these are some national statistics. One Black male teacher. And we talk about what that looks like of a study from Farmisa Mosley. Everybody does better with a Black teacher, a teacher of color, period, within the classroom, because they get to ask questions. They get to ask questions about, okay, why are Black men perceived like this? Why aren't you in the streets like I see all the other Black men in the streets that I see on TV? Why aren't you in jails? Why aren't you? When young kids get to ask questions about Black people and about Black men, they get to dispel those stereotypes and those myths that prevent a lot of students from understanding the power and abilities of Black men. And students who took ethnic studies did better overall. So yes, we as Black men, we're going to have the greatest impact on our Black boys, but we have an impact on students overall. When there's a diverse education, when people get to see others outside of their own ethnicity and background, they get to start to dispel the lies of white superiority, where whites dominate the spaces of institutions, where if you constantly seeing, like me, my whole life, at the front of my class, I don't even have to look. I can look at my schedule and I can always know, I can count on there was going to be somebody white in front of my class instructing me on how I should behave, how I should think, how I should feel, how I should express myself, who did not necessarily understand me. So to be able to have a Black man in the front of the class who was in a position of power and a position of leadership is a mind shifter for everybody, not just Black boys. So as we increase the minorities, as they call it, education force, it has a huge impact on all students. One of my favorite of the ancestors, W.D. Du Bois, always a powerful figure in education. And if you read his life's work, he went through so many different thoughts and theories about education and how educating us as a people and young folks was an impact for our future. But just simply, he put it, education must not simply teach work, it must teach life. So when we think about that quote, when we are teaching life to people who we care about and we love, we're going to teach them life for success and to be able to move forward. But when we are teaching life to students who we already perceive as less than, perceive as don't have the abilities of the majority of, we see those students as possibly a threat. And it could be subconscious, it could be something that they're not even really aware of, but it still is an issue. And we're going to talk about some of those issues and what it looks like. It looks like the fundamental cause theory. So if you're not familiar with the fundamental cause theory within education, it talks about the associations between social and economic status and mortality and morality. Mortality and morality in terms of personal resources such as knowledge, money, power, prestige, and social connections, as well as desperate social contexts related to these resources. So breaking it down, fundamental cause theory is if you coming up and you ain't got nothing, you ain't gonna be nothing. So if you constantly looking at folks, if you coming from this neighborhood, your little brother, your older brother, your mama and all them, they ain't got nothing. I see all the people who look like you on TV, and they ain't nothing. That means, why should I educate you to be more than anything? Why should I spend my time and energy into you? And it's reciprocated within the education system. We see so many African-American students not receiving quality, ethical, and equitable education because of these theories that are associated with biases. People coming into biases and thinking that, hey, you look like this, so this is how I'm going to treat you. And then lack of representation. So a lack of representation is a huge part of Black men not being in education themselves. like I said, I didn't see a black male teacher until I was about 20 years old. So how am I going to think that teaching is a profession for me if I never seen anybody that looked like me in there? I knew I wasn't going to the NBA. I'm about 5'9". My jump shot is kind of weak. The NFL eluded me. Uh, I'm about 160 pounds right now, and that's probably the most I ever weighed in my life. And I run like a 4.940, if you know what that is. I knew I wasn't going to make it pro. And later on, we can start rapping and everything, but I knew I wasn't going to make it rapping either. But with so many, of course, of those images, those are, you feel like those are the options and stuff that you have. And without having that representation of other options, a lot of students don't see that. Um, and another big part of why we don't see black males in education is, of course, the broken college pipeline. So when we have a strong prison pipeline, there's a broken college pipeline. All right. I remember my mom came into my room. I have my room because my older sister moved out. She came into my room. I'm laying on the bed watching Rap City with Big Tigger, BET back in the day. I look and she just throws some papers on my bed. What is this? She said, fill them papers out and give them back to me. I started opening up and filling them out. They was college applications to Grambling, TSU, and Xavier. I wanted to go to Morehouse initially because my sister went to Spelman, but by the time I got to my senior year, my grades wasn't. So I got accepted to Grambling, TSU, and Spelman, and I was able to get into college. But I was fortunate. Not many people have parents or supporters who's going to just throw college right in their face and also have the financial means and educational means to make it happen. But a lot of students struggle with making their way into college because of grades, because of support, because of X, Y, Z. And then for a lot of the students who do make it to college, being in the education field can look like a very poor investment. You got to rack out about 60, $100,000 worth of debt, and then you come out making about 30 to 40,000. Ooh, financially speaking, that could be a poor investment, especially for people who are first generation college students and the ones who made it. You want to come out making some real change. You want to have an impact on your life. And so to go to school and spend these 4 years studying and make all these sacrifices and then come back just to have a job that's making less than people who didn't make the go to college by teaching, it's honorable. But when you need bills, you need to pay your bills and stuff, it could be a poor investment. So not a lot of black men are coming back into the schools that help them get their education because of the investment. And then racism. I don't think I need to explain more about racism and its impact on us in education. We know it's there. And I put a poll out, and I thank y'all so much for answering. And one of the people responded to the poll about where were black men in education. And we had a gentleman say, man, where was this 20 years ago? I wonder if I had greater support, if I have stayed in the teaching profession. We're going to talk a lot more about what support looks like for black male educators to keep black male educators in the profession, because we know there's a lot of things to keep us out of it, but we're going to talk about what it looks like to keep us in. And some of the stressors when we do make it into education and have an impact on educators. And Xavier, thank you so much for these quotes and stuff right here. Xavier, actually, would you mind reading your quote with your emphasis and all your style and flair? Please.
Sure, no problem. So the reason why there aren't more in education is they get caught in the crossfire of having white male managers above them and potentially white female subordinates below them in the org chart. I think white women are quick to ring the alarm on black males in any kind of authority, and no man wants to be on the job where he has to walk on eggshells every day.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, brother. Very powerful. You suit up, you go to your job, you go to your workplace, and you feel like, man, I got to leave a part of myself just to come into this space. I got to walk around on eggshells, as you said. I got to feel like what's below me is not for me and what's above me is not for me. That's what we talk about when we're speaking on that poor support and that isolation. And then, of course, the inequities within it, where I'm going to choose this man, this white man or this white woman who may not have the experience that I have in the education, but hey, they are what looks like leadership. And racism, once again, we can take that apart and pick it in so many different places, but racism is stressor in any profession's life. And this is the webinar where we are going to address more so the tools and things that we can bring together using yoga instead of racism. We know racism is real. And this was interesting, that invisible text. All right. So for us that are educators and work in the education space or working with youth, the invisible text is something that hit me like, whoa, because I've always been the cool, relaxed kind of guy. I've never been anything to intimidate anybody, especially some kids. But I remember working at a group home. I was in a space where I was teaching them and working with them. And one of the group home leads, he pulls me to the side. Hey man, as soon as you can, I need you to take little Johnny in the garage, grab him up, rough him up. Oh, and I want you to let him know what it is right off the bat. And I'm like, whoa, dude, that's not even me. Why I gotta be the tough guy, the enforcer right off the bat? That's not me. So with the invisible text, a lot of Black men are brought in to be the enforcers, to automatically enforce their will, be the ones who straighten out these boys. I need you to come in here, use your base, and scare these kids and get them straight. And that's not all of us. Not all Black men are coming in ready to be the enforcers and knock some kids around. Not all Black men are from rough neighborhoods that they use violence and intimidation to make it happen. Some of us are, and some of us have that tool, and I know we still use it with the greatest of intentions, but that's not my style. But because I came in as a Black man, they put me in that position. So a lot of times we are that Superman. We are going to make the dropout and the suspension rates of the Black boys decrease just by being there and shaking them up and being Joe Clark and Batman and Superman. We are going to be the problem and the problem fixer. And I say that because when we were 5, 10, 20 years earlier, we were the problem. We were Black boys. But now as Black men, and we navigated racism, navigated education in the different spaces that are treacherous based on the social environments that we are the solution. So a lot of times we are put in this box of, I need you to be the coach, I need you to be the mentor, I need you to be the father figure, the uncle, the brother, help them change their tire, do this, and rough them up if they need any guidance and things like that. I get it, that's cool. That's some people's space, that's some people's wheelhouse. But if that's not you, what do you do? How do you really bring your authentic self in there if they're expecting you to be the big Black enforcer and straighten out these young Black boys and have everybody running scared of you? And I am as soft as a pillow. Ain't nobody scared of me. So of course it never worked. And kids saw straight through me and my tough act. It lasted half a day and they laughed right at me because those kids was really tough. I was like, nah, I'm a college boy. All right. So I had to find out, and I know you all know that you count. Like who you are and what you do really is huge and important to us and our babies. And I really want to thank you as Black male educators and the supporters for just showing up authentically as you and doing the tough work, making it happen, being valuable, not just to our babies and our communities and the institutions, but to yourself as well. And when I speak on Black male educators, I want to be clear that if you are a Black man in a space, in an institution, and you have the opportunity to share who you are with a student, especially another Black male student, you are impacting their lives and you're educating them. They're seeing how you interact. They're seeing how you handle and navigate the spaces. They're seeing how you handle yourself. I come from custodians on both lines of my family. Both my grandfathers, my mother and my father's side was custodians in educational spaces, in service space areas. And they educated. My grandfather, he was the dude, the older guy on the block that always looked out for kids. He changing his oil on his car. He gonna call you over and talk you through it. Just being in that space of Black male educators in any institution that we are is huge and important. The bus drivers, the politicians, the activists, the ones that's just gonna pull you to the side, tell you pull your pants up before you go in there. Don't do that. That's hot. Don't touch that stove. And Malcolm X, he got his education through prison. He got his education through experiences, but he still got it. He understood And he quoted, "I do not pretend to be a divine man, but I do believe in divine guidance, divine power, and in the fulfillment of divine prophecy. I am not educated, nor am I an expert in in any particular field, but I am sincere, and my sincerity is my credentials." Malcolm X. And this really, really hit me hard. It really was important to me. I am not a formal educator. I've never spent a day teaching a full class in K through 12 education or college education. But as I was talking to some principals and some superintendents and some folks who have taught in class, and I was talking to them about, I don't know if I could teach this because I've never been an in-class teacher. I've just taught kids through yoga and taught kids through the different spaces that I've been in. And they were like, yeah, but you've been that black boy in class. You have been the young black boy in class where you're the only one in there, and you got a white man teaching you something or a white woman teaching you something, and you look around and you're the only one there. You felt that. You know what it's like to have finally a black male educator and feel connected in a way where education begins to light your brain up and light your heart up and bring you in. So I greatly appreciate those of you who have spent time in the classrooms, and I honor and cherish all of you who just spent any time working with a young black man or just a child in general and making sure the knowledge you have continues to go on to our next generation. And as we speak about our next generation, man, I'm excited about the future. I'm excited about the future of our babies and what we're going to bring to them. As we get into our healing and our vision for ourselves and our future, you know, I love the term Afrofuturism, and I love how real it is. Now we got a lot of the ladies out there, the women, leading in the Afrofuture literature and things. But I really love the quote of "How long till Black Future Month?" when we're talking about our future. And we got a lot of the media images of what Wakanda looks like, and the OG Afrofuturist, Sun Ra. But we get a chance to come together to create partnerships for a new vision, to teach beyond just the test and the data points that they produce. It's crazy. Some kids haven't even spent a year in the classroom, but as soon as they get back, they got to start taking these standardized tests once again. They got to start plugging back into the institution of education. So before they can really start to conjure up a future based off of not having the time in the classroom for a whole year, they got to go back into, you are a data point. We need you to take these tests. We need you to get these information, these numbers, so we can keep this institution going. So I definitely believe that Black male educators have the possibility to create future by empowering the youth with an imagination and a vision that can help them to really create some change in this world. And we can all do our Wakanda forever and make it happen and make it happen. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Rose. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So I'm going to be talking and then I'm going to be pausing because I want to hear from y'all. So I talked a lot. I said a lot about racism and sincerity in education. If you could share with me any of your experiences with Black male educators, I would really appreciate it. You can take your mic off or you could drop it in the chat, but when was the first time you had a Black male educator? If anyone wants to share, por favor.
I guess I'll go ahead and say something. The first Black male educator of significance was in junior college. And it was actually an African-American history course that he taught. I was late with my final paper. In fact, I had to drop it off at his house. And he turned in the grade before he read the paper.
Wow.
Yeah, man, that meant something.
That's that type of support and connection that you know it when somebody's struggling, going through something, and they're trying to make it happen for themselves, and just to give them that lift up. And I'm sure he held you accountable, but he also held you in support and love and care. Thank you. And Dr. Rose, you are a Black male educator.
Yes.
Correct. What is your experience as a Black male educator in 2021? And do you have Black students, Black male students as well?
Absolutely. I teach at the University of Laverne. I've taught there for over 20 years. I guess the blessing that I've had while there is I have an off-campus program called the Ecumenical Center for Black Church Studies, through which I have community and fellowship and have trained many ministers for ministry here in Southern California. So that's really been my pipeline. On the university campus, I'm the chair of the Religion and Philosophy Department. We have a Brothers Forum program there on campus, and the numbers there, have ranged over the years from 3 or 4 to 15. And so yes, we struggle on campus with many of the same issues that are national issues for African American males and women, but we've got a vision, and we've got several brothers on campus now that are faculty that are part of Brothers Forum, and so we're trying to create community.
I love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate the vision and community. We're going to definitely jump into that as well. Anyone else want to share about their experience as a Black male educator, or as or the first time they had a Black male educator?
I'll share. And I'm gonna just be straight up. K through 12, 0. I actually joined the Army at 17.
Okay.
And when I got to my AIT school in Virginia, the whole cadre was basically all Black men. And it took that long and that getting out of the circle. And, it was a really different experience, but it's like, okay, finally. But you have to understand too, there's a whole construct of them being allowed to teach in that environment, because it was what's a good word? Sort of temporary, wasn't like long term.
Okay.
Yeah, so I look back now and kind of find that situation kind of striking. Is I trained in food service. We're not, so it might even kind of beckon back to some of the old stereotypes, like, okay, we're good enough for the kitchen, but that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we're going to keep it pushing and moving, and then we're going to open it back up for questions. Thank y'all so much. All right. I really wanted to jump now into the yoga part of it. We got through the yelling part of it. We know racism is real. We know the statistics are there. We know that, and we live it on a daily basis. So I wanted to talk about how we can start looking at different ways to support, create a greater vision, and help our Black male educators transform lives. All right. This is a little piece that I put together: the power within the power structure, not the light company, not the budget, not the zoning or the policy. You are the power. You are what the kids need to become alive, and you play the rhythm for young hearts and spark young minds. We smile at growth. We are the pinnacle of excellence. We are the iron sharpening iron. We determine our worth. More than a Black body, greater than any man, your presence in the life of our youth gives them power within the power structure. And we're going to continue to talk about that and what that looks like and what that really forms of. So this is a question I get a lot. Why OG? I mean, why yoga? Why we get started with yoga? And this is actually one of my OGs. His name is Mr. Keith, and he's a former NFL player in this pose right here. He played for the Saints. He was an all-star linebacker, and he got injured. He had a serious spinal injury, and he began getting back into yoga. I mean, he began rehabbing through getting into yoga and building his strength and building his body up, and it transformed his life. And it really had an impact on me, seeing that there was another Black man in the yoga space, especially coming from football. And a lot of the times the yoga space is not seen as masculine or something where we can enter and feel comfortable with. And that was even the story with me. I got into yoga after I got into the psychology space. I'm a therapist. And I'm working with these kids, loving it, going door to door, house to house, working with the kids and the families. And I experienced burnout. I'm like, man, I was put in that Superman position. Every case that was there with a black male or black child in spirit and period, they put me on. So I was in the homes working with the parole officers, probation officers, social workers, moms, dad, uncles, going into juvenile hall, going into the jails and working with these youth and not having no boundaries or not having anything to support myself. But luckily, I had a supervisor and she pulled me to the side, like, yeah, I know you play football. She reminded me how slow I was and how light I am, but you should try this yoga thing. Okay, I'm a black man. Black men don't do yoga. That was my thing, and that's not us, not our thing. But I tried it, and I went into class, and I get into class. I'm like, okay, it's a little funky in here. The mat smells weird and everything like that. I see nothing but women in here, and these are older women. But I get to my mat finally, and we start doing these breathing exercises. I'm like, okay, this is slow. This is a little bit boring. I want to move. I want to do something. Looking around these older ladies taking their time, and then finally we start getting into this downward facing dog and this up, down, up, all around type of thing. And I'm like, whoo! I was starting to sweat. I'm breathing hard. I'm shaking, and I'm looking at the ladies around me, and they taking it easy. They making it like it's nothing. And then finally, at the end of the class, all that tension, that stress, that pressure, that anxiety, that depression that I was experiencing as a therapist working with kids and families, I had a place to put it. I was able to rest. I was able to relax and just chill out for a second. The last class of yoga, the last pose of yoga is called Shavasana. So in that place of Shavasana, I was able to rest and chill and allow myself just to be present. And at that time, I was like, yo, this is something that I definitely want to share with my clients. I want to give it to them because I know they need those tools to deal with the tremendous amount of stress that they are under. And the more I did it for them, the more I started doing it for myself. And I was able to handle the stress. And I was able to use it in a way that, oh, man, it just created a different life for me. And when we're talking about our youth, we're talking about the discomfort that we have to go through to see them going through discomfort. It's uncomfortable to really push somebody past their limits. It's uncomfortable to bring a child into their own potential because you see them fighting and they're fighting their potential, they're fighting you. It's uncomfortable to expect more out of yourself. But yoga is a practice that helps you to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. These poses and postures initially, they're not comfortable. It's not comfortable to breathe differently. It's not comfortable to have your butt up in the air and your legs here and all this kind of stuff. It's not really comfortable. But the more you do it, the more you build that comfort with it. You build it in your body, you build it in your mind. And as you build that body mind relationships on the inside, you start to build healthier, more relationships on the outside. So you can constantly have those high expectations with kids. You can have those high expectations with parents, with staff, with those around you while you in this institution. So the more you practice being uncomfortable and learning how to be well within it, the more you can put that same energy into the work that you do with the kids, man. And I love yoga because of just it gives you a chance to feel good, you know. Like I said, in and out of the schools, I go into the staff lounge and I hear the ladies in there and the guys and stuff in there too talking about they just can't wait to go home and watch the TV show and get their wine and everything. Cool, it is, yeah. But then also to be able to build a practice that is adding to you and adding health and adding strength and being able to strengthen your heart and your body and your mind so you can be even more focused for your kids while you are there is a huge part of the why for me in yoga. And there's so many different variations of yoga. You can do some Bikram yoga in a hot room. You can stand on your head. You can do some iron guard. You can do some vinyasa flow. You can do a gentle flow. It's yoga for every occasion. It's yoga for that occasion when you had a great day in class, the kids did everything that you wanted them to do. It's yoga for those occasions when you just want to slap somebody. And teachers are getting on your nerves and the students are getting on your nerves too. And you just need to take a break and do something right then, right there. Or when you get home, you know, you got that yoga mat that can help you physically and mentally come back to your space and place of peace. So it's a practice Yoga is a practice that you can develop over time and work with to continue to move through those spaces of discomfort as you continue to grow and evolve. Your growth, your evolution is so important to our babies. So thank you for keep growing. And if you do know somebody who hasn't done yoga yet, make sure they try it. Give it a shot, give it a try. And one of the greatest things I love about yoga as well is the power of it to be accessible. All right. So when we're talking about yoga, I like to break it down into the AAA, the three A's. Now, when I was thinking AAA, the car stuff, like when you get the car and stuff taken care of, and I got my black man confused because he do the all state. I was like, oh, cars, insurance, anyway. But that's the all state brother. But it's interesting that we can trust black men to sell us insurance, but we really don't trust them to educate our kids and lead us in different ways. So I'm going to buy Allstate insurance just because this black man said I need to. But in the AAAs, we talk about that awareness, access, and application. So awareness, we first have to have a gain of awareness of it. I didn't gain an awareness of yoga until I was in college. I heard about it. I knew I wasn't going to wear them tight pants and wasn't going to do all that crazy stuff. But then finally, I didn't really get aware of it until I was later in my 20s. So one of the biggest things I like to do is bring an awareness to kids and students of yoga. Like, hey, this is a practice that you can do and you can have access to. All right. So we give them that sense of awareness, and we find a sense of awareness for us. So as black men, as black male educators, when we become aware that, hey, this is something possibly that we can do that could be beneficial. I hear it a lot from brothers all the time of like, hey man, I heard about that yoga stuff, but, and then that's when we move into that access piece. How do you access these tools? How are you able to jump into them? Sometimes we hear brothers like, I can't do yoga because I can't touch my toes. I got this big belly in the way. I can't get into the yoga thing, or, I'm not wearing them crazy pants or something like that. But when we cut those barriers down, we provide access through virtual, we provide access just by somebody who looks like them, a black man who looks like them, that makes it all right. And like I said, when we got the Allstate man telling us we can buy insurance, if you have another brother telling you can do some yoga, it gives you that sense of access to it and break down those barriers. And then we talk about the application. How can you apply the skills in yoga to your daily life? Now, not everybody has the opportunity to go to a yoga retreat and take 10 days off and, go to the Himalayas and mountains and stuff. But how can you apply yoga to you dealing with annoying people on your Zoom? How can you apply yoga to you getting up in the morning and having to be at school at 7 o'clock? Where do you have time? So we're going to talk about how we gain that awareness of yoga and the possibilities, and then how we gain the access to it, how we can incorporate it into our lives and apply it to our daily lives. So our AAA, our access, awareness, access, and application for black male educators. And as I speak on this, I want you to also create that awareness. Talk about it. Talk about it. If you have any questions and stuff, I can answer some questions on the next slide about how you can create awareness for yourself or for others, and that access and application. That's what we're going to be jumping into. And we're going to do that through the freedom model. All right. So the freedom model is a model that is a 7-step process on how we can get yoga, meditation, mindfulness into the hands of black male educators and the educators into schools and make it happen. We want to implement yoga into the areas just of people in general. But like I said, there can be barriers, there can be lack of awareness, access, and application. People got questions. So we want the strength to hold ourselves and others accountable for the shift in our culture. So we want to take the culture from, stressed out, burned out, overused, in places where we don't feel authentically connected, to a place where we can feel at peace and calm and relaxed and be there for our students and be there for ourselves. And we're going to break down how we can use it in our pre-classroom. So pre-classroom, of course, is everything we do before we get into the classroom, whether it's the first day or the day of, on how we can prepare when we're in the parking lot, before we jump into class, before the classroom starts, and what that looks like. And then we're going to go into the classroom. How can we use these tools within the actual classroom? on the campus. We know the presence of a Black man on campus is powerful and huge. Um, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a Black man walking through a campus, you're going to draw attention and focus, and you're going to have an impact. And your voice, not just the voice that you use in classroom, but your voice in concerns, your voice in taking action, and just your light, who you are, keeping your light, because we know you can get burned out. We know the institution that we are can dim people's light when sometimes you feel like you're just there for a check, and you just feel like you're just there. And then the community, some communities that we teach in and work in are also the communities that we live in, but sometimes it's just the community of teachers around us. So we're going to talk about building community, what that looks like, and making moves. All right, you spend some time in a classroom, you spend some time as a teacher's aide. Now you want to make some moves and get a little bit more leverage, maybe move up to principal, assistant principal, superintendent, district, making moves and what that looks like to navigate that space. And then principles, not principles as in the leaders of school, just the principles of you and your classroom and your life, and the type of principles that you can use and implement into your school. So the freedom model, FREEDOM, we're going to break down those 7 letters into steps and how we can apply them and use them through our educating practice. All right. So the first one, freedom, find out, figure out, where are we at? This one is important to me. They're all important, but this one is when you look at where you are, you figure out what needs to be done. You figure out what kind of things need to be looked at and addressed. This is you just taking that assessment of yourself, taking that assessment of your school, taking that assessment of your teachers, your staff, taking the assessment of what your partner, your cousin, your brother, who is a Black male educator, needs to perform. And then we're going to talk about the relevancy and the rapport, the R. Why is this stuff important to you? Why is it important for you to deal with your stress? Why is it important for you to connect with other instructors? Why is it important for you to connect with students? Why is it important for you to have a place to practice healthy habits? Cool. And then we're going to talk about E, engaging. How do we engage these tools? How do we use them? What are the tools that we're going to use? And after we engage them, we got to also empowerment. All right. So we have these tools. We understand why we need them. We know what we need them for. But how do we continue to use them? How do we continue to empower us and other people around us with it? And then how do we make it a real life practice? How do we keep doing it? How do we develop these skills into a practice that we can use and implement on our daily lives? And of course, after we develop it, we observe what's going on, what's happening, what are the changes, what type of things are being done, what type of things are being made. And then we always got to do the measurement, right? We want to see, are we bringing people from A to B, from X to Y? Are we, is this actually having an impact on their life? So we got some data, some stats and everything that can build out for everybody else, but it's really more certainly about you and what you are finding out. So this is the freedom model we're going to jump into and build into. Before we jump into that, any questions, any comments that you might have as we jump into this freedom model that we'll be jumping into? Cool, cool, cool. And in the question, has anyone ever taken a yoga class? Xavier, I know you are a certified yoga instructor. Has anyone else ever taken a yoga class?
I've done the Bikram yoga for a couple of years. It's been a while though, and I'm gonna have to cut out. I've got class pretty soon, so I'm only gonna be able to stay for a few more minutes today. But I want to make sure I'm in your mailing list for whenever this is being continued.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Thank you. Nice. Thank you. All right, we got some yogis in here doing the yoga, making it happen. Cool. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So you all know a lot of the benefits of yoga, but we're gonna see how we can bring that wild yoga stuff, that crazy yoga stuff, into the lives of Black male educators and see what kind of impact that can have. You know, we are always bringing things together and adding that sauce to it, making it a little bit funkier, a little bit better than what we found it. And one of the, speaking of funk, the G-Funk era himself, Mr. Nate Dogg, 21 Questions, y'all remember the song. But this is the start of our questions. So as we talked about in the freedom model, the first F is just figuring out, finding out, feeling out what needs to be going on. And when we jump into this model, and it's going to give us an opportunity to ask ourselves why. Like, why do we want to be a teacher? Really, why do we want to be an educator? Why do we want to work with these kids? We know they all bad. We know the system is this, we know it, but why we want to do it? Some people just straight up like, yeah, we get all the major holidays off. We get 3 months off. And I always have a job. But why are you doing it? Why are you teaching? How many male Black educator students do you have, and in what capacity they serve in coaching? Why, where are the teachers at? Why are you doing this? And what do I need to heal from? So we all have been institutionalized in education. It doesn't matter if you went for all Black schools, K through 12, then you went to HBCUs for undergrad and grad. We all have some traumas through our educational system. So what do we have to heal from before we bring that into the classroom and work with our students? What are my gifts and what are my passions? What are you good at? Some people are great with connecting with the kids, and they horrible at making courses or making the curriculum, making the agendas, teaching. So what are your gifts? What are your passions? What works for you? What are your stressors? What are the type of things that stress you out? Them buttons that can be pressed easily. What are the things that take you out of the game, that burn you out? What are those things? And then how am I taking care of me? So you got those stressors, you got a lot to deal with, you got some things to heal from just within the institution of being in this place. How are you taking care of all that? So these are some questions that you can start to ask yourself in the figure out process. Now we have a document with even more questions that we can really dive into and go into, but we wanted to just kind of introduce a couple of the questions here. And I put the quote, teachers don't make no money. A lot of times people say that when we talk about the why. All right, we got a couple of more questions. I'll just kind of run through them. How am I being supported? So these are questions for the institutions that we are in. Do I feel like I belong here? What do I offer? What am I here for? Did they just bring me in here to be the enforcer and I'm really a teddy bear? Did they just bring me in here to say they got a Black man that teaches education or teaches math or something like that? Or did they just bring me in here and they put me in the PE position, but I really am a physics teacher? What am I here for? And where's my community? Do I feel like I have a space here where I can call a community? And then what are my resources? So they bring me here, they give me a paycheck and everything. I got the teacher lab resources. I can use the fax machine, but what are my real resources? How can I really reach these kids? Can I take them to different places? Can I bring in videos? Can I bring in speakers? What are my reaches? What are my resources here? We hear a lot of teachers talk about the loneliness of the profession, and especially as Black men in spaces where you're the only one feeling lonely. So these are some questions for the institution that you're in. And we starting to create a framework within our mind. We starting to create a framework within our mental of what this looks like. But this is before we jump into the profession. This is while we're in the profession. These are things that ground us and keep us here. What do students have to contribute? This is when we're talking about who we're educating. A lot of times we think about what can we contribute to the teacher, to the students, what can we give them, but what are the things that that they can contribute to us? The music that they listen to, it may suck sometimes, but what is it really giving? The styles and the things that they're doing. Am I committed to student success? Yeah, it sounds good. You want to be there for the students until they test you and they jump up in your face and it sounds good, or they do something that you don't like, but are you committed to their success? Are you willing to be in that uncomfortable, discomfort place? How am I showing up? How you show up is huge. How you show up on campus, how you show up in the classroom, how you show up in the space. Are you looking tired? Are you looking beat? Are you physically and emotionally and mentally drained? And they just see that and they can feel off of it. And they know they're going to treat you like the sub because, oh, you the sub, he don't care. We know this person don't care. How are you showing up? Am I doing good here? The work that I'm putting in, do I feel in my heart that I'm doing good here? Or am I just holding space? Thank you. And what can I improve on? How can I improve on what I am doing here? How can I make this place better than where I found it? Good. And then just a couple more questions. Why are they essential to this institute? So these are the questions for the administrators, the principals. These are the questions that folks ask that support. How can I support them? Um, so it's good to say you have a diverse staff, but how are you supporting your diverse staff? How are you supporting your Black male educator? How do you see them? Do you see them as just a good one? Do you see them as like that enforcer? Do you see them as the one that made it? How do you see them? How do students, staff, parents see them? When you ask your staff about that Black male educator, the parents, the students, what is the feedback that you get? Asking some tough questions. And then what can you improve on as an administrator, as a leader, on helping to support and be there for your Black male educator and what they offer your school? So these are some of the questions. Like I said, we have a whole list of questions that we jump into, but just to really get the mind going and our finding out of it. And I got some, I want to ask you all some questions now too. Does anyone have any questions about that first F? Oh, cool. All right, cool. All right, we're gonna go into the R. All right, when we're talking about our R, we're talking about the relevancy, the rapport. So when I talk about working with the kids, I'm talking about how can I make this relevant to them? How can I make it important that they'll pay attention and listen to me? When I'm talking to older kids, it's like, you know what stress is, you know what anxiety is. This is something I can help you with it. You know what frustration is. You know what it's like to be nervous about a test. You know what it's like to want to talk to that girl and your palms are sweaty and stuff, and you need something to calm down and relax, or you want to perform better on that sports field or court. And when I'm talking about relevancy and rapport with Black male educators, it's about getting your time and performing at your optimal level, showing up on a daily basis, being the most clear and positive that you can be. And yoga is a practice that helps you mentally, physically, and spiritually to show up. So this is why it's important. This is why it's relevant to you. It's important for your health. Not just, you want to keep your six back from back in your college days, but as you're standing up all day and working, you maintaining your health is important, and you maintaining your mental clarity. It's important for you to understand how you can leave what you need to leave at the job and come back to the house and have a practice to just let stuff go. I know a lot of men who like, yeah, this is my after work practice so I can leave what I need to leave at the job. I know back in the day, they used to have those images of men going to the bar and stuff after work to leave it. This is a practice of you going to the mat to leave it there. And you want to be a positive impact and maintain your mental health. So having a practice that can help you clearly work through all the stuff and maintain your mental health is huge for you being able to grow and share with the youth that we have. Those are some of the points of why it's important and relevant. Good. All right. And it's important to Black men, especially athletes and other Black men use this as a tool to build health, and it's also a tool to build with students. Uh, a lot of times I talk to students about yoga and it just sparks their interest. It builds an automatic connection. Oh, can you teach me how to levitate? Can you teach me how to float? Can you teach me how to do this? Can you teach me how to do that? And it helps them to understand that I'm investing into my health. A lot of times they think, oh, okay, you're an adult, you're grown, you ain't got to do nothing. It's like, nah, I still got to do what I need to do to stay strong, stay healthy, stay on top of my game. So about maintaining health and building with students and creating the opportunity to be impactful and present is huge and important. So it's important for us to have these practices to show up mind, body, and spirit in class. Cool. Thank you. All right. And then creating community. We talked about community and really having a community that you can invite yourself and others in. So yoga, some parts of yoga does have a spiritual component. And when I'm talking about spiritual outside the religious aspect, it's like the spirit of connecting with other people, bringing your humanity and who you are into the space, and really having a community of healthy and people who are really building themselves inside out. So a lot of teachers talk about, hey, let's go to happy hour and stuff, but hey, we can also go and meditate and relax and chill and build that positive space within that teacher staff, that staff lounge. Sometimes the staff lounge can be the most toxic place in the whole school. So being able to have that space within you and creating a community of healthy folks is a huge aspect of what yoga can do for you. All right. So that is the R, the relevancy and rapport that we build with our students, the relevancy and rapport we build with our colleagues, our administrators, our staff, our family, and then the relevancy and rapport that we build with ourselves. Why is this important for me to take time to meditate, to stretch, to breathe? I want to have a long career. I just want to be present. I want to be connected to myself, my loved ones, and to my students. So I want to make that work. Cool. And let's get into that engaging piece. All right. Thank y'all for rocking with me still. Let's get in a breath here. Good. So if you could do me a favor, just sitting up nice and tall into your chair. If you're laying down, go ahead and continue laying down. We're going to get some breathing in. All right. So every cool Black man ever in media and film has always mastered their breath. The musicians, the athletes, the karate man, the soul man, the cool dude. Being able to master your breath is mastering your mental, your nerves, being able to calm yourself and keep yourself cool. So we're going to do some breathing here. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. And we're talking about 3 breaths. We're talking about 3 belly breaths, breathing all the way down deep into our belly. So we're going to relax the shoulders, sitting up nice and tall, bring the chest up. We're going to take 3 deep breaths, breathing in out of the nose. On the count of 3, we're going to get started. 1, 2, 3. Take a deep inhale through the nose and a long, slow exhale. Breathing through the mouth. Good. Let's breathe in through the nose and breathe out. Let's do one more. Let's take a deep inhale through the nose, relaxing the face, the shoulders, breathing deep into the belly. And exhale, relax, release. Good. So as you become that cool Black man and just step into a classroom, step into a meeting with your head held high and your body, mind, cool, calm, and relaxed, you already took a couple of these breaths within the car. So you're feeling good, relaxed. Taking the campus as you stride, you're taking those breaths, staying cool, calm, and relaxed. In the meetings, when it starts to get heated, when they bring up those different subjects that are challenging, you maintaining your breath, staying focused, helps you to stay in the game, not flip out, not do anything, or look like you're doing anything that could be threatening and challenging. And as we stay through the breath and breathe deep, it helps us to be present, calm, cool, and relaxed for those youth that we work with. So I like to bring the breath into the class, using it as a way to calm down the class. Like, hey, y'all get a little bit rowdy. Let's take these 3 deep breaths. I like to bring it to start out a meeting. Before we even get into this conversation, we're going to take a couple of breaths and breathe it out. I like to use it before we start to take a test, before we engage into a difficult activity, being able to use those breaths to help the kids connect, and then even help to adults connect to themselves. Before we handle the business of the institution, we handle the business of our bodies. Taking these deep breaths helps us to elevate ourselves past the stuff that's on our mind and really be present, cool, calm, and collected. So we have a whole bunch of breath and breathwork videos that we can include with you all. Just want to take a pause and breathe it out here. Going through a lot of information as we stay engaged. So when we talk about that second E of engagement, that first E of engagement, we're talking about engaging those yoga tools, the breathing, the mindfulness, the physical postures, and getting it in. All right. Cool. Lower back pain affects around 80% of adults at some point in their lives, and it affects their ability to perform daily tasks, exercise, and sleep. Yoga may be a convenient and inexpensive way to provide some relief. Once again, let's sit up nice and tall. We're just gonna roll it out here. Let's take a deep inhale and bring those shoulders up. Roll your shoulders up. Inhale. And then roll your shoulders back and down. Let's take two more. Inhale, shoulders roll. And exhale, roll back and down. One more, shoulders roll. And exhale back and down. Good. Working it out in the neck, stiffness. It don't matter if you're in front of the computer or if you're standing all day in front of the class. Being able to have your body loose, limber, and in a place where you can monitor the kids and work with the kids is huge. So as men, we are statistically and we engage in more rough and tumble play with the kids. I'm always slapping the kids on their head or, kind of moving them around and stuff like that, running and jumping with them. So it's important for me to be able to have my body as a tool in teaching. And once again, we talk about that vulnerability. The more we practice yoga, the more we can let go of that space where we feel like we got to be hard, we got to be tough, we got to be, we can let it go and be a little bit more vulnerable, letting kids in and letting our colleagues in so we can be of more service and start to trust our own bodies and accept our own bodies for what it is. So once again, we have a whole bunch of videos and transcripts and everything to take us through some yoga poses and postures and moves and how we can use those to further engage our kids. We know our kids want to move. So it's always cool to be able to move and stretch and help them be engaged and just bring attention to our body in a way that helps us be more accepting and trusting of our body so we can bring our whole selves into the classroom on a daily basis. And the more your body feels good, the more you feel good. I didn't get as much sleep as I needed to last night, but I got up and jumped into my yoga practice and it woke me up. It's like my coffee. It's like my energy drink. You got kids coming in, drinking Red Bulls and eating hot chips. It's like, let's get our body going in a way that's going to get our blood and the oxygen flowing so we can be present and mindful for these practices. And when we're talking about mindfulness, we're talking about that meditation. Good. Let's jump into a meditation real quick. I want you to close your eyes, relax your shoulders, let your feet be firmly planted on the ground. Before we jump into a meditation, let me express to you the relevancy of my meditation. My 25th birthday, I want y'all to just imagine, I'm 25 years old, living in LA, partying in Inglewood, having a ball. 25, I made it. Wasn't supposed to make it past 25, but I made it. I got my education, I got a job, everything is rocking and rolling. We partying, having a good time. The next morning, I don't know how I woke up in time for it, but I woke up in time for my yoga class. And yoga was always an experience where we would spend just a couple of minutes meditating before we got into the postures and poses. But on this particular day, it hit me. Boom, I'm sitting there meditating, thoughts are running through my mind. And I'm starting to just see my thoughts for what they are. I'm starting to see that I turned 25 and I'm already thinking about me not being enough. I'm thinking about, man, I'm 25. I'm supposed to have X, Y, and Z. I'm supposed to be doing this. All my accomplishments are not enough. And I was sitting in my meditation, reflecting on these thoughts. I became aware that I am not my thoughts. These are the things that I'm thinking, but it's not me. I can still be happy. I can celebrate. I can enjoy me and accept who I am. And the thoughts of me not being enough, that comes from somebody else. That comes from outside of me. So as we sit here for a second, I just want you to take a deep breath and relax and release. So as you focus on your breath, breathing in and out, I just want you to release any of the test. I want you to release any of the thoughts of you're not good enough, you need this certification, you need that, you need more experience, you need anything. All you need is you to show up into a classroom, show up into a space, and be your authentic self. The more you bring your authentic self into the classroom, the more you impact the lives of the babies that are in there, depending on you just to be you. So many of us as Black men have been broken down and thinking that we have nothing to offer. We know that's a lie. We know that's nothing but a lie. And the more we focus on our breath and breathe and stay calm, cool, and relaxed through our meditations, the more we just have a time of stillness and peace and quiet within our own mind, the more we can see the truth that we are enough. Let's take 3 deep breaths here, breathing in and breathing out. Letting the thoughts just come in and out. Breathing in, breathing out. Being okay with your mind racing and running, but just bringing it back to the breath as you breathe it in and breathing out. Meditation is a space for you to let go of what you thought you should have did and what you thought should have happened, and push pause on what needs to happen or what's going to happen, and just be in the present moment. The mind is going to be the mind. It's going to keep going. Your thoughts are going to be there. But you can find stillness within the mind by finding the breath, finding the present moment. As I discovered my thoughts, I discovered I didn't need to meditate. I didn't need to gossip as much. I didn't need to judge and criticize my students as much. I was able to let them be as I let myself be in my stillness. Now, when I teach meditation in kids, I just really call it taking time to be still, calm. I call it the chill out challenge. So I like to start my classes with a 15-second chill out challenge, where they just focus on their breath, the in and out for 15 seconds. And it gives them a sense of meditation and a sense of calmness and stillness. I liken the meditation just to focusing on one thing. You get to just focus on your body. You just get to focus on your breath. And it puts a pause on you focusing on all the stuff that you woulda, shoulda, coulda do. Being able to focus on where you are helps you to show up authentically and fully for yourself and for your students. So the more you are able to connect with your meditation, the more you're able to connect with your students. Bring it into your daily life, bring it into your practice. And we just took a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes to do it. So you can implement that into your pre-class, you're in class, you're in the car, you're on the campus. Just taking a second to be still, recognize what's around you, and breathe deep. Cool. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Cool, cool, cool. I want to get you guys out of here. Thank you so much. So much information that we put into this. And the second E is the empowerment, scheduling time, creating opportunities, and creating a plan of wellness. So if you're an institution and you want to support Black male teachers, incorporate yoga into the classes. Give them the things that they need. If they need mats, they need water, they need space, they need time, share it with them. Help encourage the Black male educator's desire to just bring something new and exciting into the class and create different opportunities for the students to live and to learn. All right, so we have a vision map as well. So a vision map is how we can start to implement our vision of meditation and mindfulness into the classes and into ourselves. So when we have a vision map, when you go around schools, you always see the posters and stuff, leadership, power, improvement, all these type of things. But being able to have a vision map for ourselves helps us to create what we want to see in our students and within ourselves. So as Black men, it's important for us to be able to create intentions and create a vision for ourselves. A lot of Black men have the fear of feeling, just fear of feeling due to vulnerability and leading to negative results. So sometimes we've been vulnerable in spaces, and that's led to us suffering from racial traumas, suffering from traumas of, oh, as a Black man, you're supposed to show up as XYZ. So when we're able to create a vision for ourselves and set intentions for ourselves and breathe and feel through it and have a practice to be able to do it, it helps us to create a better and a safer place for our students. There's nothing like finding space in the safety of a Black man. There's a certain strength that we have. There's a certain power that we have when you feel like you're able to be vulnerable with the Black man and share that space with. And that has an impact on all students and all colleagues as well. So we have a vision map and we have an intention setting exercise that we share through the course to help us empower Black men and give them the tools that they need to be Black male educators. And of course, as a Black man, showing up in yourself with self-love, man. Don't just fake breathe and work on your laptop when you in a personal development or professional development. Be there, show up for yourself. And like I said, we all got educational traumas and traumas. So use these as tools to address them and empower yourself for health and wellness and really being able to create boundaries. If you don't feel like being that enforcer in school in class, don't do it. If you don't feel like you're comfortable with this student or feel like you're comfortable with that teacher, being able to set those boundaries with yourself. And the more you practice that meditation, the more you get to explore your boundaries. And there's nothing like seeing a person stand in their boundaries in a peaceful and powerful way. That is what it means to claim and reclaim your Black masculinity, what it looks like to be a strong Black man and show up in a place of power, presence, and peace through your meditation practice. And your practice is being able to show up authentically as you. Letting yourself continuously be empowered through that is self-love. And one of the biggest tools that I've learned, especially in the space of education, is having a daily practice of meditation. We have some tools and tips for that as well throughout this. And then being able to just express love and share love and give love. A lot of times, Black men in public spaces have not been able to express and give love because of whatever reason. That's the whole thing there. But being able to model and show that love for kids through having that love for yourself. And read and reading. I learned a lot about reading from Black women, especially too. That's a whole nother conversation. But being able to meditate, read, and love is a huge empowering self-love in navigating these spaces of racism and institutional oppression. And just on a self-care tip, African American men suffer the most from prostate cancer. And research suggests that attending a yoga class twice per week during prostate cancer radiation treatment may reduce fatigue and improve sexual and urinary function. So you can even be proactive and attend those yoga classes to help you navigate that space that is so predominant in African American Black males' lives, prostate cancer. All right, this is an amazing concept of the beloved community. So Dr. Martin Luther King popularized the notion of the beloved community. King envisioned the beloved community as a society based on justice, equal opportunity, and love one's fellow human beings. The beloved community also describes a society in which all are embraced and none are discriminated against. I found my beloved community with the Association of Black Psychologists, the 100 Black Men of the Inland Empire, and just the community of Black men that I communicate and commune with on a daily basis. So creating communities and creating different places for us to be as Black men. And I know a lot of Black men who are in the spaces of education or institutions where they have a deeper connection with the custodians, the people who serve the food, the people who drive the buses or offer services than they do their colleagues. So really focusing on creating a beloved community through a practice of just showing up and being whole and connecting. The power of the Black man's head nod is undoubtedly strong and powerful. So being able to create a community for yourself and have a supportive family, just to let you figure it out. Yoga is a practice of constantly figuring yourself out and figuring out what works for you. So many handcuffs have been placed on Black masculinity of, what we can wear, what we can't wear, how we can show up, what we don't show up in, being in a space where we can continue to work on our growth and our development and continue to evolve through a practice of yoga that constantly just helps us show up and release and relax and continue to build. And thank y'all so much for rocking with us. I know this is a lot of information just to do in this one webinar, but we're putting it all together in a formative course for you. Cool. So we're going to keep making it happen and go through it. We got just a couple more slides I want to bring y'all through. All right. So now we're in the D. And the D of the freedom model, we bring you through how you can continue to develop your practice and your principles. The castle is the California Social Emotional Learning wheel on your far left, and it talks about self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. That is aligned with the 8 limbs of yoga. And if you don't know, now you know. Yoga has a practice of different limbs, and the first limb, and when we mean limbs, we're doing different principles, is the social ethics. How do you show up socially? Social relationships. And then your personal ethics. What kind of decisions are you making for yourself? Then the asanas is the physical, making sure your body is managed. And then the fourth is the pranayama, making sure your your mind is and your emotions are managed. And then the pratyahara, making sure you continually reflecting on yourself. That's social and that's self-awareness. And then that concentration and that focus that we use in school and in places to get work done. And then just being able to be at peace and accept yourself is a part of the 8 limbs of yoga. And then we have the 7 principles of the Nguza Saba. So it really is powerful to understand that in this country, there's so many Black men who have not been brought into manhood through a rites of passage, through an official welcome to manhood experience. Most of us have just become men by you turn 18, you pay some bills, you're a man now. Now you got to face everything that go on. So just being able to look at the different principles of the Nguza Saba, the holiday of Kwanzaa, based on these principles of unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith, just helping us to develop a practice of utilizing these skills and reflecting on these skills through our yoga practice to continue to impact ourselves and others. And I really like talking about this when we talk about POC, pizza parties, and pedagogy, how we teach and how we impact our students. We can use so many different elements of Black male culture. And when I talk about Black male culture, we know it's a wide spectrum. I'm a Black man who grew up in the suburbs of Southern California. I have a master's degree. I teach yoga. Some people were like, that doesn't belong in the Black male box. But the more we develop our practice, the more we develop our own sense of who we are. And we get to incorporate that into our teaching. We get to bring that into sharing ourselves. And is the fact that teachers of color and predominantly white teacher certification programs often struggle with feeling their identity is not reflected in their coursework. So you get this curriculum, you get these tests, these things that you are supposed to teach, and it don't align with anything that you feel. And you know it don't align with the students that you have in front of you. So being able to bring your own pedagogy, and we talk about pedagogy is the way you teach people and to the work that you do. And I love this picture of Pac when you have the chakras aligned. If you don't know about chakras, those are the energy centers that are associated with the yoga work and a lot of the different energy practicing work. How can we bring that together and really create those connections and lines for our students? And of course, we want to develop the students as well too. And you're a leader. As a Black male educator, you are a leader. And we planting seeds in the young folks as a male role model and as a leader. So as we develop in young folks, man, it blows me away to see all those videos and stuff online now where you get young men breathing and calming themselves down and helping them to develop skills to be mentally and physically flexible in dealing with the different adversities that they have coming against them. But you're a leader. All right, working our way through. And when we're getting into the O, we're talking about just observing, taking a look at yourself, taking a look at how you've grown and how the students have grown. Yoga is a constant analysis. An analysis of the yoga and heart health studies found that yoga reduced risk factors of heart disease, such as body mass index, cholesterol, and blood pressure. And the more present you are, the better you can serve. The more you observe yourself, the more you observe the kids, the unspoken words that they share. If you're a teacher, you're an educator, you're in a space, kids they don't always have the verbal skills, But the more you are in tune with yourself, the more you can be in tune with how they show up, and the more you can help them observe what's happening within the politics of school, and the most importantly in you. So you get to observe what's happening in your colleagues, what's happening in your subordinates, those who supervise you, and more importantly, what's happening within yourself. Are you able to wake up earlier? Are you getting better sleep? Are you feeling better? Are you eating less, drinking less? How are you showing up after engaging in your yoga practice? These are metrics that are, to me, more important than standardized tests and all of that. So 80% of all teachers who leave the field felt like they were alone and isolated. So as a institution of school, listen to your teachers, listen to these Black men. It was interesting. I never felt more listened to and, in my opinion, valued than when the murder of George Floyd happened this summer. And I had non-Black friends kind of come to me and kind of check in, like, I'm not racist, am I? And kind of listening to and checking in with me. So if you're supporting Black male educators, you know, provide the support with the, you know, we talk about affinity groups a lot, groups of African American teachers who have that space to be able to share and connect and follow the lead on social issues. We know we have a history in this culture of social issues being surrounded around Black male bodies, the policing, the murdering, um, the the just exploitation of Black male bodies in this space. Get an opinion and create space for that to be shared and create space for that to be heard. Listen to Black male educators because it impacts the school and impacts how Black males in the school are treated and heard and listened to as well. So it's important. um cool. And then mindfulness. um that's what mindfulness is to me, being able to observe what's going on in your body, what's going on in your mind. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? And being able to teach that skill to young Black men, the students in general. This is how you observe what's going on so you don't get caught up in it. Are you feeling agitated because somebody said something about your mama? Are you feeling frustrated because that girl won't talk to you? Are you trying to get some of this or some of that? Being mindful of what's going on. And you know, you got these hormones going, you got this going. And even as yourself, as a Black male educator, being mindful of how racism impacts you, how the frustrations of, you know, you better than this person or that person at that particular skill, but you're not being treated fairly. How are you going to react? Being mindful is a practice. And we have some mindfulness skills and practices that we include as well. So you can be able to continue to practice that sense of, all right, this is what's going on and this is where I'm at. Let me move and react based on me and not based on my traumas. And when I think about mindfulness as well, I think about the legacy that we pass on. Because as I reflect on who I am and as I reflect on who I'm showing up as, um, I reflect on my ancestors, those who come from before me. I'm very fortunate. I am, my grandfather, my grandfathers knew their father on both of my parents' side. And I was reflecting on how huge that is, because of the constant perception of Black men not having fathers in their lives. But the the man has been in my life for a very long time, where fathers have showed up on both sides. Um, so understanding and being mindful of the legacy of my ancestors that I bring into the classroom has been huge and powerful. And being able to hold on to that space, even if you don't have that legacy of males in your lives, you got the legacy of Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, and the list goes on and the list goes on. So who are you bringing into that space as you educate, as you teach, as you enlighten and share your power, your light, and your voice? Cool. And then, of course, for the institutions and for ourselves too, we have to get into that M, the measurements. All right. Has there been a decrease in cussing the kids out? Are you able to handle staff lounge now nonsense? Is it easier to regain focus when grading those papers? Can you touch your toes again? We count steps, we count calories, we count everything. Being able to count the things that help us to perform as a Black male educator and just really check in with ourselves. Have you been angry? Have we been anxious? Have we been depressed? Has our productivity been going down? What are some tools that we can do? I was talking to a brother yesterday who was really struggling in the past with suicidal ideation. He couldn't afford therapy, but he could afford some yoga. And it really helped him to look at what he had and look at what he wanted to improve on. And it was something that he can do even when he was at his most distressed. So it's a powerful tool that you can use just to take accountability for yourself and account of yourself and where you are at. All right. And then what changes have occurred with you, with your youth and the relationship with Black male educators? So as you start to implement into your institution and with your Black male educators, different practices, starting to notice how is it impacting the schools, the students? Are the non-Black educators, are they acting different? Are they acting more connected? Do they feel like they have a safe space? Are the students' grades and behaviors going in the direction that you wanted to? We know the numbers are there, but what are the numbers are saying for you? Getting those measurements and the numbers. And as you get those numbers, you can really use them to advocate for more resources. You can use those numbers to advocate to improve and see the improvements that you want to see in the institutions. So we have some pre and post assessments that we do to really help us to challenge the status quo. We've been saying it for far too long. Black students that are impoverished, this, that, where people think that's the norm, but we cannot allow that to happen. So we play the game and get the data and the numbers to understand and share that, hey, this is having an impact on me, it's having an impact on other folks, it's having an impact on the students. How can we increase the impact and get some resources here to make it happen? Measuring it out. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so let's jump into let's get some more deep breath in here. We're just going to get into a little mindful exercise really quickly. Once again, wherever you are in your chair, just relax and find that deep breath. And in your mind, I want you to find that mentor, that leader, that Black man in your life, whether in media, whether in the movies, in music, or actually in your life, that made you feel connected, cared for, loved, and respected, or even having that longing for it. As you breathe in and out, allowing your shoulders to relax and your belly to soften, you feel the warmth and the grace of the Black man. You may feel just the position you wish they held in your life. Feeling the position of support and care, nurturance and guidance. Let's take 3 deep breaths. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, and breathing out. Deep breath. And exhale. When you need it, you can mindfully find that Black male to guide you and lead you and create space for you to feel space. And in yoga, we use the word namaste to end classes, and namaste is a word that really means the real in you recognize the real in me. The light, the love, the peace, the Black excellence in me recognizes in you. So as always, feel free to feel free, and namaste. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I am officially done talking, and thank y'all so much for hanging out with me still and rocking. If you have any questions or comments, anything, would love to hear from you. Please share your words of wisdom. Mr. Xavier, if you'd like to. Vanessa, thank you. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for just dropping in the chat as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great job. We'll talk soon.
Ooh, thank you so much.
Some good points out of your webinar here.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, and I have a book, Timmy Tutt, and it teaches a lot of these principles and practices. It's a children's book from 3rd grade to adult readers. It's cool at timmytut.com, Prince Timmy Tut. Yeah, and we work with schools. We do assemblies, staff trainings, workshops, and we expand on this course even more, and we go deeper into it. So thank you so much for taking the time to rock with me, you all. I really appreciate it. And y'all all have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and thank you. Thank you. Thank you.